I know that dress is karma. Perfume regret.
Oh my god.
Got you thinking about when you were mine.
Focus. Focus on me, yeah. Focus. Focus on that.
Let's go, Berkeley Cap. How y'all feeling tonight? Yeah!
One of the things I do as an arranger is find other songs or other musical motifs that are related to the song that I'm doing. This is like something I like to do just like for myself. It's usually not even for people, which I guess flies in the face of me saying nothing should be arbitrary. But like for this, Focus by Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do the or whatever, because I knew as soon as the song came out, everybody was going to do it, and there's going to be a million covers of it, like by the next ICCA season, whatever. Yeah. So I said, okay, what can I do for my group if we want to do the song that's going to make it stand out? And I said, well, the first thing people hear is going to be what they remember. There's like a scientific study that says when humans hear a song, they usually remember the beginning and the end of a performance or something like that. So I wanted to make the beginning and end really memorable. And I remember listening to Ariana Grande's Focus and thinking about, if you want someone to give you attention, obviously you want them to focus on you. Mm-hmm. So, Focus by Ariana Grande at the beginning of Attention, like saying, hey, I want you to focus on me. Okay, now that I have your attention. And then it's it's kind of stupid, but it worked for my arrangement, so,
Yeah. I like it once you know what the song is because you're like, what song are they going to sing? It's like, oh, this is like the other person that you're singing about. Mm-hmm. Like, it makes sense. Like, there's a little bit of an interaction there.
And also just, I thought this would be a cool way to sort of bring it in. And I really like, bass lines that are not just doom, 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 doom. And I wanted to mimic playing an actual bass. One of our bassists, Dominic, he plays the bass at Berkeley. Like, that's his principal instrument.
He's incredible.
So then I have the doom 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 doom, like something that you would actually hear someone playing on a record and not just singing into a mic, because it can be very easy for acapella to get stale that way when they're like, you want to make them forget that it's a voice to a certain extent. You want to make them forget that you're not using instruments. Like, the lead should be the only vocal part they're focusing on, and that's what I try to sort of accomplish here. And for this song is groovy. It swings, it grooves and everything. So the bass has got to do that. Like, the bass and the drums are the basis of the rhythm and the basis of the groove. When I was on Head Voice a year or so ago, I was talking about that, how I arranged based off of groove first, because I'm a vocal percussionist. So that's one of my first considerations when I'm arranging a song, and that's even before I consider the harmony, I consider what groove I want to use, and then I build it with my groove first, and then on that I build the bass, and then upon that I build everything else.
Run around, throwing that dirt along my name. Cause you knew that I'd call you out. Run around every party in LA. Cause you knew that I'd be that one.
About this particular section, I was listening to an alumnus, I guess, of Pitch Lab, Jared Jenkins. He did a cover of Justin Timberlake's TKO, I think it was, and he had that little motif there. And I remember, I've heard that in so many different pieces of music and different arrangements and different compositions. And I've always really liked that. I love line cliches. I hate when people say, "Oh, you shouldn't use a line cliche because it's a cliche." I'm like, it's a cliche for a reason. People enjoy it.
Because it works.
Yeah, because people use it because it works every time. And I love sort of subverting the expectation. This song is in E flat minor. But for the first verse, the chord suspends, but then resolves to E flat major. So then you have this the E flat major chord, which is technically a reharmonization, but it's not you're not trying to be you're not trying to be super out and choose the weirdest chord adjacent to this note. It's it's a reharmonization, but it's right there with the actual chord, so that it's just enough to give a sparkle, but not enough to completely take the listener out of the arrangement. And notice I'm not beatboxing in the first verse, which is something that I've also learned to appreciate, which is weird. You think I want to beatbox all the time, but having that space is just the soloist and the girls. You start like after this big intro is complicated or whatever, then if that makes any sense, you know?
Yeah, it's almost complimentary to what Charlie Puth does as like for this song later on, where he does the anti-drop of like here comes, and then it's just the bass. You know, like that's what's awesome about it.
And that's another thing that I was thinking about when I was arranging this song is that the hook of this song is the bass. You know, this song actually doesn't have a lot of orchestration. It's his voice, it's the bass, some backgrounds, the beat, and like a few chords. Like it's really not that lush of a song, but it's not supposed to be. The essence of it is in the groove and in like the way it makes you want to bounce and everything. And that's what I tried to keep in this arrangement. I wanted to keep that bounce. I wanted to accentuate it. So I swung it even more and I made everything syncopated because I wanted people to feel the space in between the notes.
Yeah.
I know that dress is karma, perfume regret. Got me thinking about when you were mine. And now I'm all upon you, what you'd expect. You're not coming home with me tonight. Yeah, you just wanna.
So part of what I was telling you earlier about how you turn like these jazz type arrangements that are pop songs, but you arrange them like pop music, where you have like your very clear motifs. Anyone who listens to pop music knows that like whenever you're listening, it's not just like, oh, there's the motif and the motif. It's like, oh, there are nice spaces for like these little shiny things and somebody going, hey, or like whatever, that like actually makes the song very interesting. And you do that really well in this, like even in this pre-chorus and actually throughout.
That's actually, I'm glad you brought that up. Moments don't always have to be a stop and then it's in your face.
Yeah.
Like like if it's back in the background, people like they know that it's there, but they don't catch it at first, and then they have to get like. What you want to do is you want to give a listener multiple listen throughs and then have them find something different every time. Like, especially so like when the soloist is singing, and then the altos, when you are mine, they have that little riff in the back, and then the tenors and baritons, da ba da da. Like they'll have little lines that aren't distracting from the soloist, but you can tell they're there, and that's like. One of the things I'm going to go back to the aforementioned alumnus Jerry Jenkins. One of the things he did really well was having lines within the arrangement that weren't overshadowing the soloist, but you could tell they were there and they were enhancing the arrangement. They were giving it sparkle. And actually, he was one of the people I studied while I was constructing this arrangement was like finding ways to not just write. I guess oohs and ahs, and not just write pads for backgrounds, but utilize the ensemble and almost writing like background parts. Like I also studied a lot of Beyonce, a lot of Brandy, a lot of Fantasia, a lot of these R&B pop singers who had these cool background lines that were almost as recognizable as the solo lines. And I wanted to do that with this arrangement. I didn't want to have just solo, kick, bass, and then pads. I wanted the ensemble to be an instrument too.
Yeah, you just want attention. You don't want my heart. Baby, you just hate the thought of me with someone new. Yeah, you just want attention. I knew it from the start. You're just making sure I'm never getting over you. Running around.
I'm going to say something that might be sacrilegious. Don't hate me. The
Go for
reason that people like this song is the same reason why they used to like some of Michael Jackson's biggest hits. The bass line was immediately recognizable. Like for Michael Jackson, whenever he sings ding 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 ding, everyone knows that's Billie Jean. Or ding 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 ding. Everyone knows what that song is.
Yeah.
That's what Charlie did. He you don't have to sing a lick of the lyrics.
Yeah.
You sing that bass line, people can know what the song is.
Yeah.
That was its defining feature. And what drew me to that song was the bass line, was that groove and that pocket. So I'm like, if I'm like, I have to keep that. I have to put that in and I have to make it so people have something that they can recognize. They can point, oh, I know that. So then I just had the bass. I'm like, all right, you're going to sing.
And everyone's dancing to that part.
Yeah. And then nothing else happening except for me, the soloist, and the basses. People so grossly underestimate the power of space, the power of having not silence, but the power of letting the spaces in the song breathe. Okay, I'm about to give another esoteric metaphor, but it's like salted caramel ice cream, Like
Go for
the
it.
salt makes the caramel sweeter.
Yeah.
Which is that's the purpose of the flavor. So the silence is my salt. Putting space in between the moments you're try to create makes the moments sweeter. And that's really what I was trying to do with this chorus. I was trying to make it just as close to the original as I could, but I mean I still wanted it to be cool.
Yeah.
So I have that little at the end, sort of leading into the next phrase, because I didn't want to copy Charlie. I try, unless I'm like deliberately asked to, I never try to do anything like verbatim. But I did want to get pretty close to the source material with this particular section.
Yeah.
Until we got to the second chorus where things really heat up.
Yeah.
Running around, throwing that dirt along my name. So knew that I called you out. Now that we're standing face to face, already know that you are.
Okay, so the beginning, that's not entirely a reharm. It's just taking the ensemble, having them use the chords that are already there, and just displacing them. Because people think that the only way to make something interesting is to change the harmony. I changed the rhythm. Metric modulation, or I guess changing like the rhythm and the meter of a phrase, is almost like rhythmic reharmonization, if that makes sense. Like the chord was the same, but the rhythm changed, so it achieves the same effect. It's familiar, but it's different at the same time.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm a groovy person, so I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then having the ensemble seem like they're like little phrases. It's not just oohs and ahs like it was during the first verse or first pre-chorus.
Yeah.
You're running off the dirt on my name. Because writing those lines, again, like what I said before, it gives people something else to listen to and something else to listen for. But also, you know, it gives the ensemble something to do. Like, no one wants to sit there and sing oohs and ahs and jins for like 4 minutes straight. You know, like if they have fun with the song, they're going to show it, and therefore the audience is going to catch that energy, and it's going to be this feedback loop of energy. Like, arranging for the audience and arranging for the ensemble are equally important. And making things accessible for your ensemble will thereby make things accessible for your audience.
Definitely. A lot of people forget to do that.
Yeah. It's that's one of the things I try to stress whenever I do like clinics and stuff, is that know your ensemble and knowing your audience. Those are probably the most important things about arranging for anything, not just contemporary a cappella, but especially contemporary a cappella, where like everyone's trying to push the envelope every day, which is good. You know, we should be innovating, but also realize that the crowd that you're going to be performing to, like, what do they want to hear? Like, what are they coming to see? A group like Pentatonics, like they probably can do a bunch of weird stuff, but they know their crowd, they know their audience, and so they cater to that, and that's how they build up their empires, because they know their niche and they've solidified it.
Definitely. I'm pretty sure every show that you or even like the Nor'easters are just really great, well-arranged groups. When the audience leaves, you can hear someone singing some of the background parts because they like singing them. You are clearly arranging for the singers in your group and the audience at the same time. Making fun parts.
Yeah. Make fun parts.
Make fun parts.
I know that dress is karma, you regret. Got me thinking about when you were mine. And now I'm all upon you, what you'd expect. You're not coming home with me tonight. Yeah, you just want.
So obviously at the end, usually what the chorus is supposed to do is like, you're not coming home with me tonight. But that, like, I love subverting expectations, which is like what reharms are supposed to do. So, you're not coming home with me tonight. It's like the note still works, and it's like it's literally a half step off from what the chord's supposed to be, and it's just like a little color coming at the end of a phrase that like people usually expect, like, if you're gonna do something different, you're gonna do it at the beginning of the phrase where they're like expecting something different to happen. But like, and then you come at literally at the last moment, and then you have the little
The shadow vowel, yeah.
And that's another chord, and then it gives people, like, literally what you're trying to get them to do is like lean forward and like try to catch things, and that's which is like what people have been trying to do with like dynamics and everything. It's all about making the audience engage and making them pay attention. Attention. And like that's what that was just like literally. I just wanted to make people be like,
Tonight, yeah, you just want attention. You don't want my heart, baby. You just the thought of me with someone new. Yeah, you just want attention. I knew it from the start. You're just making sure I'm never getting over you.
I want to talk about that chorus for a second. The counterline that I gave to the altos and the baritones was actually the first thing I thought of when, for this arrangement. You just want attention, you don't want mine. Like that little line, like it literally, it's literally just counterpoint. Literally just a counter melody to what the actual melody is doing. I just like a background line, something they can sing that doesn't overshadow the melody or overshadow the soloist, but something else for people to pay attention to. Actually, it's funny because like in pitch stuff, sometimes people fight over who gets to sing it. Like this tenor, soprano. Sometimes I feel left out, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I promise I have stuff for you guys later. I just wanted this specific sound for these specific voices. When you're arranging, you're allowed to write melodies. You're allowed. Basically, what you're doing is like recomposing underneath what like the source material and everything. Like you don't people should never feel bound to. Unless like there's some situations that call for being completely transcriptive, but you should never feel bound to holding yourself back and holding the ensemble back because you wanted to not overshadow the soloist. There are ways to do it to where they don't come over, but they come alongside, and like so then like you create like this really cool moment that works in concert with the soloist.
I think one of my common ways of doing that is like, which you did here perfectly, is like you find where the lead is. And then there's often like a nice break here, and that's always a really good spot to like put that new melody in and like keep the music going. The melody's kind of what drives it beyond the bass and the VP. So then when you would do that perfectly, you don't want attention to lead, then you do the other part perfectly.
Like finding the spaces in the solo where like that can happen. You just want attention, you just want attention. Like and like that's another thing because like. If they are singing at the exact same time, it can get a little muddy just because of the ear doesn't know what to focus on. So like, there's something I use in my instrumental arranging too. Like whenever I have horn lines, I try to put them on the spaces where the singer is not singing because I don't want, I don't want them to collide. Yeah. Like I want them to work together, not against each other.
Exactly.
And then the you just want attention. I actually decided to fill in, I guess, the harmony for the second half of the chorus, which is Charlie Puth never does. He just keeps it with the bass, and I'm always looking to change something slightly enough so that it keeps it interesting, but not so much that you don't know what's going on. Yeah. Because that's also something for an ensemble too. Like if nothing repeats and they have nothing to latch onto, no pattern, it's harder to learn. It's a whole thing. This chorus is different than the last chorus. There's no disputing that. But you can tell that they come from the same song. You can tell that they came from the same source material. And there's not really any re-harms here. It's really just them singing the chorus. You just want attention. I knew. And then the ba ba da ba da ba do is like the like that rhythm is the same thing that the bass does. Ding 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 ding. Like the song will give you so much to work with, and pulling from elements of the song will not only make it easy for you to arrange, but also keeps the arrangement cohesive. One of the first arrangements I did, I showed it to a colleague and a sort of mentor of mine, and he told me that the arrangement sounded great, but he said there was 3 arrangements worth of ideas within that one arrangement. And that's one of the things that stuck with me. It was like I had so many ideas, and I was so concerned with putting all of them into that one arrangement that I wasn't considering it's got to sound cohesive. Like it sounded like one person arranged this section, one person arranged this section, one person arranged this section. So even though it was still like a decent arrangement, it sounded disjointed and no one was able to really latch onto one thing. What I tried to do with attention, what I've been trying to do with my arrangements since then, is keep that thread running through it. I want to make sure everyone knows that this is streamlined, it's horizontal, you know that this is going a certain place, and so you're not just like disrupted at every section. People think that you always have to arrange arrangement start like beginning to end, and it doesn't have to be linear like that. Like I said, like the line I had for the chorus for the second chorus was the first thing I thought of. So I arranged the second chorus first. And then actually I arranged the second chorus up to the bridge, went back and did the first verse, went then to the last chorus, then went back and did the intro. And like I mean, obviously that's like you don't have to do it that way because it can be kind of confusing. But like when I am arranging and I'm sort of like I can't really sit around and wait for like inspiration to strike for like a specific section. So like whenever it comes, I'm taking it. You know, I'm jotting ideas down and say, okay, I'll orchestrate it later. Just let me get these ideas down. Let me get like the basic form down, and then I can start. You know, like once I have my puzzle pieces, then I can start putting them together. Like I don't need everything to be this magically perfectly crafted, you know, pearl. Like it's good to have places around it that are simpler, that are less, I guess, complex, and aren't showing everything I can do musically, because then that makes the parts that I am showing what I can do musically shine more. When you get to a certain point and you're just trying to like show off all your knowledge, you're trying to put every chord, every reharm, every time switch in, then you know it gets muddled, and then you just look like a jerk, because you know like there's no reason to put everything everywhere. There comes a point where like if you have the knowledge and then you choose to abuse it, then that's when it becomes a problem. You know,
Arrange like cooking.
yeah, arranging's like cooking.
Yeah, gotta use your spices the right way.
What are you doing to me? What are you doing?
What are you doing now?
What are you doing to me? What are you doing now?
What are you doing?
What are you doing to me? What are you doing now? What are you doing to me? What are you doing now?
I know that dress is karma, perfume regret. Got me thinking about when you were mine. And now I'm all upon what you'd expect. You're not coming home with me tonight.
Of course, things from the beginning, but instead of doing it's and the bass. I'm also of the opinion that you don't always have to have the bass on the root of the chord. In fact, it can be a very good arranging tool to have it not do that. I mean, I have it on the root for most of this song, but like specifically for this part, that's the third that you're building the arrangement on, and it's a completely different color than this. You know.
Yeah.
This part is very, I guess, not quite choral, but this is like definitely like the first time where it's been like not rhythmic at all. It's very solo's still doing the they're still doing the solo, but everything else is everything else is very smooth, very choral, and almost a palate cleanser from all the crazy stuff that came in the pre-chorus. And I guess heaviness is like, I'm like, don't get me wrong, I love reharmonizations, and when people use them effectively, I think it's the dopest thing ever. I think everyone should try to use them at least once, because it's just such a cool thing. But it can become orally fatiguing, so you have to use them sparingly, and you have to use them in a way that you know you're going to, I guess, break that tension later, which is, I guess, what I was trying to do with little motif or whatever.
I love that. I'm not good about taking my bass off of roots, like finding times when I'm like, this is when it's going to be really good. That's the thing I need to work on.
I don't want you to think that like I'm telling you how to arrange, or I'm telling anyone how to arrange. Like this is just the tools that I've developed that are most effective for me. There are billions of ways to do it, and much more experienced minds than mine that have done it in completely different ways, that have succeeded in wondrous ways. But from what I've studied and what I've experienced, this is a very good way to, like, for this kind of arranging, it's a very good way to sort of balance everything. I mean, the bass, it is supposed to be a root instrument. It is supposed to sort of be the harmonic foundation of the group. But it can be the harmonic foundation on the third, on the fifth, on the seventh. Once you get into tensions, it can be kind of dicey unless you know like exactly what you're doing. But I mean, it's all about experimentation. Like, sort of contradicting what I last said, you should be trying to throw all your spices into one pot, because that's how you learn which ones not to use and at which times. No one becomes a master chef overnight.
And like part of why we learn the rules is so that we learn how to break them.
Yeah, like we learn the rules so we can break them for very specific reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no parallel fists, but Beethoven.
Yeah.
The voice crossing. But, and then, so then, I love when, like, things in nature sort of, like, open, like a cresting wave, or, like, this I call the sunflower, where it's, like, And it's a good way to sort of underline the dynamic that you want, because ooh's going to ahs naturally gets louder, so the voice is naturally going to follow this kind of arc, and then it's just about getting them to accentuate that.
It's a cliche, but it works. It's again a cliche that really works with having like a really great soloist belting that big note and everything else building underneath them. It's really nice.
Which is weird because I didn't write in that the soloist should hold the note, but both soloists I've had for this song have indistinctually done it, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So I mean, like, that's another thing. Arranging is not a concrete art. It's always fluid, and if you have the time, like I have a few things that I'm like dead set on, like I want this way because of this thing. But then sometimes people in my group will say, hey, what about this? Because like they're like, I'm not a singer, so you know, I mean, I have a very good knowledge of the human voice, but I'm not like a singer. And the people in pitch slap, obviously they're singers. They'll come to me and say, hey, what about this? And I'll be like, either like, I don't know that, or wow, I never thought about that. Do that.
Sometimes you also just hear somebody in your group messing around, and you're like, wait,
Yes.
do that.
All and pitch slap like you wouldn't believe. They're all stupid.
They are so
then
good.
they'll be like, I'm like,
Who did that?
okay, and then I'll say, do that.
Yeah, keep it.
Yeah.
If you do a commission for somebody, I feel like some people are scared to like make the changes and be like, hey, like, sorry, we changed things. Like, no, like, this is yours to run with it. Like,
Yeah.
I gave you like the skeleton and more, but like, you're gonna give it life. Like, run with it. And, like, some people get scared to do that, but like, the smart arrangers aren't too precious about the things that they're making.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing I've also had to learn was like not to be complete, like even if I really love something, not to be completely married to it, because there might I have a very musical mind, but that's a mind that was developed in a very specific way over a very specific lifetime, and other people have different musical minds that were done the same way, and for me to shut them out because I think that whatever I know I did is best would be to do a disservice to both the arrangement and to the ensemble, especially with a group like Pitch Slap where they're all so musically intelligent. To not utilize their musical intelligence would be, you know, unwise.
Yeah.
You just wanna touch it. You don't want my heart. Baby, you just hate the thought of me with someone new. Yeah, you just wanna dance. I knew it from the start. You're just making sure I'm never getting over you. Oh.
And you have this big chord. It's almost actually what happens at the beginning. Like then it goes down to just girls. I did the same thing here. And it's actually it's 3-part harmony that goes into 4-part harmony that goes back to 3, and you can, even though there's no bass, you know the exact harmonic contour of what they're singing, which I think is something that's really cool. Like when you have like just treble voices being the bases of the harmony, and then she's just singing over that. You just wanna it's very light, it's very bouncy, very rhythmic. Tenors focus on me, yeah. Under that, then the baritones come in, bum biddy bum bum biddy bum biddy. It's building. You can tell because the voice is being added. Then me and the bass come in, do 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 do, and then we're all in for like the big finish, which is like this is like the busiest the song is, because the girls are singing the what are you doing to me, what are you doing now, and then the men just have the ba-da, ba-da. They took the motif from the girls, brought it down, and now they're working in tandem for like this last part of the chorus.
Yeah.
You just wanna
I don't know what you want to say about that ending.
I don't have a lot of explaining to do. The first part of the chorus is pretty cut and dry. What are you doing? And the girls, ba-da-ba-da, and the guys, and the bass line is it's literally just a more ornamented version of the doom-ba-doom. It's a doom-doom-doom-doom-doom-doom-doom-doom-doom-doom. And then I go, of course, into like I love 2-5-1s. I think they're magical.
Yeah. And
like the regular harmony. You just wanna so then I just turn it around and just go to the what I feel is the obvious rearm. And then that's when I get the crazy the. I don't know how to like I don't know what I was thinking during this part. I wanted something cool because like what's supposed to be happening in there is like is the chorus again.
Yeah.
You just wanna and then the whole it's very like straight ahead jazz. Even the syllables or whatever it is is really just me being selfish as a beatboxer. You want to do something cool at the end, so you get and it's like this like last. I've given you this sort of arc, and then here's just something really stupid to put at the end, just for this is me being selfish as an arranger. This is me being a hypocrite and throwing in something completely arbitrary because I wanted to.
That's a good way to close.
Yeah.
To like at least closing with the identity of your group in mind.
Beginning and end is what people remember. If I don't have to, I try not to end on the root. Like there's sometimes when like it's natural and it makes sense and it's what you need to do. Which is what I did in Back Pocket. That's what I did for Jealous.
Yeah.
But like an ending is so hard.
Yeah.
A good ending and a good intro are probably the hardest parts of any arrangement.
Yep.
So I spent a good week and a half poring over how to end this song, and then when I landed on this like sequence of chords, sort of and it's like you knew that it was jazzy, you knew that it was complicated, but it wasn't like you were completely like.
How did you choose those chords?
How did I didn't. I chose the bass line first. Actually, so it was for I bet on the bass. But the next section, after you just wanna, I had the soprano line in mind. I had the soprano, then I had the bass, and then it was just a matter of filling in everything in between. And like seeing what I wanted to do. And like none of these chords were like so far out from the original key, but they're sparkly enough so that people think something really interesting is going on. Which is the thing, you can trick people into thinking that you're doing something really complicated when you're really not, by adding sparkle to like the chords that are already in the song. So I just took them, rearranged them, put them on some weird syncopations, and then we had an ending.
It's really comforting for me as a arranger to hear like I didn't pick the chords, I picked what I wanted to hear. I picked the melodies that I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And like led with that. Because I think any arranger at any level of skill theory wise can do that. They can lead at least with the melody. It might just take them longer to fill in those gaps, but like to know it's like, no, you don't need to know that. You need to know what you want to hear, like what comes to you. Exactly.
That's going back to what I was saying sort of at the beginning of this chat, is that theory is just a tool to help you give names and assign measurements to the music that you already have in your head. I did not decide I wanted to use an A flat 7 with a sharp 11 or whatever. I decided I wanted to hear a very specific color, and then I built the chord around the feeling I wanted. And I could do that because I have the theory knowledge, of course, but like it was feeling first, theory second. That's how it was for this entire song. That's how it was for a good deal of my arrangements. I arrange something that people are going to want to listen to based on how it makes me feel, not based upon why it doesn't violate the lower end of the limits or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. That was awesome. That was really awesome, dude. For real. That was sick. Oh my god. Go.
He's trying to bring attention to the bass line.